The new 5G technology exposes us to EMFs in a different way than 3G or 4G did before. 5G uses higher frequencies. So far, mobile phone frequencies were mostly in the range of 2.5 gigahertz. This is the typical range for 4G. And 5G begins at 5 gigahertz and goes up to perhaps 30 gigahertz within the next few years. And there are even plans to go up to 95, even 100 gigahertz. Now, an increase of frequencies in the spectrum, in the range of EMFs, always goes hand in hand with more energy. The higher frequency of an EMF is, the more energy it delivers. So we know this from light, of course. Red light carries more energy than blue light because red light is of a higher frequency. Now, 5G, because of its high frequency and corresponding short wavelength, cannot effectively be distributed from an antenna like 4G, so it has to be beamformed. There's a term called beamforming, meaning that instead of a generally emanating field that just distributes evenly throughout space, when 5G technology is used, when you have a device that requires a 5G signal, there is a laser beam-like ray of electromagnetic energy finding your device. And this beamforming, this bundling of EMFs simply makes this ray so much more intense when it hits a biological organism like our bodies. It is very similar to a laser. And we know from medical applications, of course, that lasers can be used effectively. The same energy that you use in a therapeutic laser would be rendered ineffective if it was just evenly distributed. It has to be formed, has to be a bundle of energy to be effective. Now, as positive as these effects of medicinal laser therapies can be, it shows us that beamforming increases the impact of electromagnetic energies on the human body. And this is true also for energies that are detrimental to our health. So rather than just being an addition to 4G and increasing the sheer intensity of EMFs we are exposed to, beamforming is a unique feature of 5G. Interestingly, the 5G frequency range is similar, and if it's actually increased up to 30 gigahertz, it will be completely matching the frequencies of certain radiation therapies, which can be used effectively for medicinal purposes, such as in cancer therapy, but that are only used for a few minutes per week on a patient. And they, of course, require consent by the patient, and they require information. So a doctor is legally obliged to give the patient all kinds of information about potential side effects. Now, when 5G is omnipresent, we can be exposed to it for hours per day every time we use a 5G device. And the ray that activates the device, makes it effective, is operational. And maybe our bodies are in the way. Let's say I have a device behind me, a computer, whatever, that utilizes 5G, and then the signal comes from the front and my body's in between. This ray will go right through me. This may go on for hours per day. And nobody informed me about the side effects, which is interesting to note, because a doctor failing to give this information to a patient will be in legal trouble. However, with mobile phones and other devices, no such information is required. Nobody is legally required to inform us about these side effects. Another unique feature of 5G is that beginning at the 5 gigahertz frequency and upwards to high frequencies from there, there is a unique effect when electromagnetic waves cross the membrane of a body. And this effect was predicted by Léon Brillouin, a French physicist in the 1920s. It was later confirmed. It's called the Brillouin Precursor effect. And this effect refers to a certain intensity of electromagnetic energy crossing a membrane, and then inside a body, particularly a body that has a lot of water molecules like our bodies do, the energy is actually multiplied. The dipolar structure of a water molecule acts as a mirror, and what happens is that the energy, once it crosses the skin membrane, goes through an impulse of acceleration, and a mirroring effect is happening. So the actual dosage that is effective within our bodies is much higher than the dosage that we would measure with any device. So if we want to know what dosage are we exposed to with 5G, the answer is we don't know, because whatever we can measure is going to be only a fraction of what occurs inside our bodies. No one can really know for sure how much increase in dosage is going to occur in any given body. There may be individual parameters there, individual features of each body that are unique. And it's also next to impossible to accurately measure this increase of dosage. However, a study that was conducted in 2001 in regards to a radar station in Cape Cod that was operated by the US Army showed that the Brillouin precursor effect is detrimental to human health, because the military personnel working on that station encountered real problems, health problems, psychological problems, while they were exposed to exactly the same frequencies that are used in 5G technology. And this led to an investigation by scientists, and their recommendation to the Pentagon was to not continue this technology and to not continue to build similar radio stations. And the US Army actually agreed, and they discontinued the expansion of this technology. And of course, we know that the US Army, like any other military, is not shy to expose their personnel, their soldiers, to a lot of hazardous influences. This is well documented. Now, with 5G technology for civilian populations, there is no such shyness to be found. And the Brillouin precursor effect is particularly troublesome because the structure of water inside our bodies, the electromagnetic properties of water, are incredibly important for blood flow, cellular metabolism, for the detoxification of the brain, which works mostly at night in the glymphatic system, which is a lymphatic system for the brain, hence the name glymphatic from glia and lymphatic. And it's well documented that the structure of water, the electromagnetic properties of water, the fourth phase of water, as Professor Pollack from the University of Virginia has called it, a specific type of molecular structure of water found around cell membranes and in different parts of the body. All this plays a crucial role in health maintenance. The Brillouin precursor effect can irritate water, can create abnormal water structures. And these abnormal water structures are probably going to undermine the ability of the body to properly detoxify, the ability of the body to distribute signal molecules, carrier molecules, nutrient transport, the feedback loops between the brain and the glandular system, between the brain and pain receptors, between the brain and muscles and nerve endings in the sensomotoric system. All of this is going to be undermined by this particular effect that 5G produces. So with 5G, we don't simply have an increase of EMF exposure. And unlike 4G and other types of EMF exposure, 5G for most people will not be continuously present in their bodies, because 5G device is only in contact with the station wherever it gets its signal from when the device is operational. But when the device is operational, during that time, exposure, depending on where our bodies are situated, where they are placed in relation to the device, exposure is of such intensity like we've never seen before. So this is really an open experiment on human beings. And given everything we know from the detrimental effects of EMF exposure so far, it is very likely that this will introduce a new era of health problems like we've never seen before. Therefore, in this age of 5G, which in all likelihood is not going to be stopped and not going to be rolled back, it is highly recommendable that 5G devices are neutralized, and that the EMF exposure that we're receiving through this technology is transmuted into something that is beneficial to our bodies. Otherwise, we become part of an experiment, which without consent, which I don't think any reasonable human being would want to do.